Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back this time with Sam for your Lions Raw match reaction show. Also talking a bit about transfers as well, as we're in the January transfer window. Before we get going, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We are now just 50 away from the big 5K. We've had some mad support this last week off the back of some videos that I've been doing on the transfer rumours and all that jazz. So help us hit that 5K mark. It would be amazing to do that. Like, subscribe, get your comments flowing in. And I will just do this before we get into it because we're probably going to mention him later on. But while we're not criticising, we're not doing anything at the minute, I want to shout out our competition with football prizes for a signed Ollie Watkins shirt. See the tactics here, Sam. You see the tactics here.
The price has dropped considerably. It was 89.
Exactly. They started off at 89p. They didn't. Just 39 pence for a ticket. A signed Ollie Watkins shirt. You've got just under 24 hours to go to enter this prize. There's also 25 instant win prizes available as well. I think there's a mystery sign shirt as well available there. So do go to footballprizes.co.uk, search the Aston Villa prize, purchase your ticket. You can purchase more than one ticket as well. Just 39 pence for your ticket for a chance to win the signed Ollie Watkins shirt. So that's enough for me rambling on. Sam, how you doing, mate? Great to see you. Good Christmas and New Year.
I'm very good, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's been a while. Feels like I'm not turning into Rich B, but my appearances are becoming fewer and further between. But yeah, no, it's nice to be back. Nice to see everyone. So yeah.
Everyone's in the chat as well. Lewis is in the chat. Stephen's in the chat. James, Rachel, Engine Number 9, PJJ. I don't know who your usual critics are in the chat, but I'm sure they'll be in a bit. I think so.
Lewis, Kevin, and Gary are generally my main antagonists. But I feel like they're going to be quite quiet today.
They might have joined the Sam train. But before we get into various players, because we were talking before we came on and just talking positive and negative on numerous players that we want to cover today off the back of yesterday and off the back of, I guess, the Christmas period. Is Villa Park turning back into that fortress that we used to have it as, the 15 home wins in a row? Are we quietly turning Villa Park back into this fortress?
I wasn't aware of this either. I think it's a stat that quite surprised me. We haven't lost there in 10, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty handy. We've had some good results. I don't know. I mean, I think obviously not being beaten in 10 at home is a really good. It's a really good stat, and it does show that we kind of have that comfort that a home team should have when playing at home. I mean, if you look at some of the results, there were a couple that, you kind of would have liked to have snatched a point. Maybe like Bournemouth, Palace, where we drew 2-2. Brighton, sort of last minute lost it, like conceded goals and ended up drawing. But I mean, if you look at, for like Bournemouth, for example, a lot of teams are surprising this year. It's far more competitive, the league. So I think that we've done all right. I don't think that I don't think we've got all the results that we want. But I think the bedrock of having a good season is having good performances and good results at home. So it looks like, and that is why we are still in contention for a top 4 place European space, it's because we've been pretty consistent at home over the last 10 games. So yeah, no, I think it's positive. I think it's really good.
Yeah, yeah. I was a bit. I'd heard something about it. It was like one defeat in 13, I think, before the Leicester game. Obviously, that being the Arsenal defeat, which we probably should have won, and that was probably one of the best home performances, to be honest.
Morgan Rogers masterclass, yeah.
Yeah, he was brilliant. But yeah, I guess it is, and it by hook or by crook, we've won these games. I don't know whether it was just the momentum or whether it was just getting carried away with how good we were. But it just seems like we're having to work so much harder for these wins than we did when it was like the 15 wins in a row. But I'm pretty sure we had some tough performances, tough home wins in that run as well.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, defensively we were a lot more solid. Like we were not conceding the same amount of goals, and I think the dynamic has shifted this season. So last season, people were coming to Villa and they were scared. Do you know what I mean? They were like, "Oh crap! Villa are a team on fire. We need to sit back. We can't let them break. They've got all these options, all this quality." And this year, Villa has a bit of an air of, well, it doesn't matter if we go one down, or it doesn't matter what happens. Like you can come back at Villa, and I don't think that fear of Aston Villa is there or as potent as it was last year. Like people still respect us, and you see it by the fact that so many teams play against us with a low block and hit us on the counter. But I don't think people have worked us out or worked Unai out, but people are definitely developing patterns of play that seem to be repeated game after game that seem to be effective against us. A good example was a long ball, that kind of like hopeful long ball over the top when there's just one player back or two players back seems to be pretty successful. So yeah, I mean, it was always going to happen. People figure out how you play. Last year with Unai, it was dynamic, it was different. And I think one of the things that makes Villa so dangerous is that we can change up the type of play that we do depending on who's in the starting lineup. You get a different dynamic with Watkins than you do with Duran, Morgan Rogers, and Tielemans playing in the 10 or whatever. That we have options, so we don't always have to play the same way. But yeah, no, it definitely feels different, and it feels like we are never comfortable in a game until the final whistle's gone. I don't feel comfortable watching it.
No. And Kevin makes a good point here. I've starred loads of comments, so please keep coming, bringing them in. I'll try and get through as many as I can. But it says his big issue is we seem to start games as if we're already 2-0 up. It's a bit bizarre. And Bear in the Garden says every team in the league is finding it more difficult and having to play better to get a win. And David said we've been poor at times and just 4 points off fourth, I think, and we would definitely take that. So it does seem that way in terms of the first point. Villa were that team that got out of the blocks fast, particularly at home. 1 or 2-0 in front, and then I guess it kind of, if we did concede a goal, we'd still have that cushion, and we could still step back up to get the 2-goal cushion again. Whereas at the minute, obviously Saturday we didn't concede the early goal, but we have done in so many games this season of conceding that early goal and starting the game slowly, and then having a mountain to climb to try and just get back into the game, which then means that the game becomes that kind of basketball style end to end. You leave yourself open, and it just seems like we've moved away from that kind of Villa that was so dynamic at the start of games.
Yeah, and I think one of the comments was we were 4 points off fourth. And I think we've benefited massively from everyone else in the league, bar Liverpool, not having the best season. I genuinely mean that. And it can be the reason that I gave earlier where, it's more competitive in the league now. Like anyone can get a result anywhere. And that very much is the size of it. But, some of the points that Chelsea have dropped, some of the points that Man City have dropped, the start that Newcastle had, everyone is, even us, like beating Man City that comfortably. I know we did it last year, but that was the most incredible result because Man City were absolutely flying, and that's why it meant so much. Whereas this time it was brilliant. It was amazing to beat them, but you kind of always felt like you had a chance because they hadn't won in 11 or whatever it was or they'd won 1 in 11, 1 in 12. So, I think we are fortunate that everyone else around us is dropping points. But I think one of the things that I've always said on the pod, and I know Kev has said it as well, is that we're not the best at sort of capitalizing on those opportunities when teams around us drop points, and we had that, that game against an Ipswich or someone to strike.
Every time we've had the opportunity to go top or second or this season get into that top 4 position, and it, like you say, it's been an Ipswich or it's been I don't know, a Bournemouth at home or something like that. We've messed it up, and it was that was the same last season. It's that, I don't know, it's a mindset thing or what. I don't know what it is, but it just seems to be something that Villa have, that we have to get over that hurdle of taking that opportunity when it comes.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of things that I don't like and I haven't really enjoyed. Like, I've been saying this in our WhatsApp group for ages. I cannot stand Concert at right back. Like, we've been doing this for a good few years now, Rich. You know that I've always been Concert's biggest champion and biggest defender, and advocate, not even a defender. There's nothing to defend. He's always been brilliant, but he's not a right back. He's not a right back, and we've struggled with that almost not makeshift defense, but the defense being so inconsistent, changing. And but there's positive. I think there's positives to take from it. Like, Tyrone Mings is back, and he looks brilliant actually. And I've got to admit, I was a little bit afraid that he was going to come back.
I think everyone was, mate. I think everyone was.
A really serious injury. Like, he could have come back half the player that he was before. You know what I mean? And it's other things that he's seemed to have improved on since he's been gone. Like, his passing is so much more sort of consistent, and he's really composed, and he just looks like the leader of that defense again. And I think maybe we forgot what we were missing whilst he was out for that period of time. But it's one of those. I mean, everyone look at Spurs against Newcastle yesterday. You see the team that they fielded. Injuries are going to happen to everyone across the season. I think you have to be smart in your recruitment to cover them, and also not allow yourself to use it as an excuse, because we still have so much quality. We still have most of our best players on the pitch. So
yeah. PJJ Conser just hasn't got the skill set going forward to play right back. No. I mean, it was one of those where I was laughing on our group chat. It was the Brighton game where he ran 65 yards to get to overlap Leon Bailey. Bailey played him in down the right-hand side, and then he instead of carrying on and crossing it, he just went back and passed it back to Kamara. I'm like, why would you even bother making that ground up? Why would you do that?
He's not a right back. He's not a right back. And I think PJJ sums that up really nicely. He doesn't have the skill set to do it. Like, Conser can do so many things brilliantly. He runs well with the ball. He shields the ball well. His passing is really good, but he can't whip a ball in like that. He's not. Even Matty Cash is like, in terms of dynamism, being able to run and go and cut inside, and like, Matty Cash is significantly better at Ezri Konsa than that. Compare them as footballers, and Ezri Konsa as a centre back is streets ahead of Matty Cash as a right back, but he just can't do what Matty Cash can do on that side. So it's one of those. I mean, I wouldn't. We're halfway through the season. So much can happen. So much can change. We're at the start of the transfer window. Who knows what's coming in. It's early days to be hitting any sort of alarm bells or anything like that. The reality is, right now we're in what, 8th?
Yeah,
we're 8th.
I think we're 8th. Yeah, 3 points off Newcastle, 4 points off Chelsea or something.
Yeah,
so
3 points off
So
Newcastle.
tight.
So far, so good, I would say, considering everything. And if you look at where we are in the Champions League as well, fifth, joint second or third or whatever in the Champions League, still in contention for a Champions League spot come January. I'll take that.
Wow, I am amazed. This is a positive Sam on the podcast. This is just brilliant. This is music to my ears.
No, but I'm not. I mean, I guess I have that reputation, but I think you have to put things. Don't get me wrong. I don't really like the way that we've been playing. Like, if you watch me most of the games, I'm absolutely fuming and I'm screaming at the TV, and I'm like you. I think we're too slow. This is completely off topic and on a tangent, but to summarize it really concisely, we are so slow when we move the ball. Every single time we do something good, it's from breaking quickly and pushing quickly. And this thing that we do that you've obviously picked up on, but we've been doing it for a year, over a year, is getting up to the final third, the opposition's final third, and holding the ball and waiting for everyone else to get back. We're obviously waiting for our own players to get up, but it allows everyone to get back, or we're just sending it all the way back home. And it's infuriating. I haven't been enjoying watching Villa play. I think we've been pretty terrible. But if you take it on the results, and if you look at where we are on the tables, I think I think you take that. I honestly think that you say to any Villa fan at the start of the season, this is where you'll be in the Champions League and the Premier League in January. I think everyone takes that.
100%. 100%. So many comments coming in. I'll try and get through as many as I possibly can. Please do hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. Help us on the road to 5K. We are so close now. Literally 50 away from the big 5K. So like, subscribe, and keep your comments flowing in. One from Gary was, and we'll talk about him now, was Bailey was back to being a free transfer to Basingstoke again in that first half. And I have titled this, "Is Bailey Back?" Obviously, we've all seen the effort that he's putting in, particularly the last 3 or 4 games that he's been back into fitness. Even before he got that little injury, he was trying to find some sort of form back. How important do you think that goal on Saturday would have done for his confidence? And arguably, it's probably his worst performance out of the last sort of 5 or 6, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, you obviously saw the confidence come through him after that goal, because he then had a great shot that hits the underside of the bar.
So, do you want to see what happens after that?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. That's the next bit. but Leon Bailey, I mean, he's got I've got a soft spot for Leon Bailey. I absolutely love him. But yeah, I mean, and I've been watching and wanting him and willing him to score, willing him to do something. And like I say, arguably in his worst performance, he gets a goal. But how important will that be for him?
Yeah, massive. And he said it himself as well. Like, I think in his Instagram post, he said, I needed that. He said, I needed that. It's his first goal of the season. It's one of those where I don't think he had as bad a first half as you and Gareth thought he did when we were on the WhatsApp chat. His final ball was poor. His dribbling wasn't really coming off, but he was involved. You know what I mean? He was picking up the ball. It's just that final, and this is often the case with Villa, not just Leon Bailey, but
no
ball's just not quite right, or the wrong decision, not dynamic. Like Leon Bailey of last year was going past players for fun. He was going past players and then going back around just so he could do it again to the same player. Like, he's not. Confidence is a big thing for players like Leon Bailey, where you have to know that you're gonna be able to beat the man, and hopefully this contributes to that. But I think there's a couple of things about Leon Bailey. I don't think he's been as bad as maybe some have been making out. And I think what is also quite notable is that he's working. Do you know, he's like, and I've said the same thing with Ollie Watkins a billion times when, effort on its own is not enough.
No.
But I think one of our first concerns about Leon Bailey was kind of towards attitude, and, his dad or his agent or whoever he is piping up and saying he should be doing this and that, and like kind of disharmony and stuff. But I think he's grafting, he's working really hard, he's clearly fully invested in his role here, and he's trying to do the best that he can do, and that kind of shows. And that determination to make that run, that kind of like bust a lung to get there, I think it's massive for him in terms of confidence. But I think it's also just another demonstration of how hard he was grafting and how much he wants to succeed.
Yeah, I agree, and I actually don't think he's been as bad as lots of people made out. And yeah, he was poor in that first half, but so were so many other people. I mean, we're going to give Barkley quite a lot of praise shortly, but I thought him and Kamara in that first half were just passing the ball between themselves, just on the halfway, and it was like, are you actually going to pass the ball forwards here, or are you just going to have your own little game? So, it wasn't all Leon Bailey, absolutely not. And I've said this a few times with Bailey. You hit the nail on the head with him trying to work his way through it, trying to keep making those runs, trying to tackle back. And, he's not the best tackler at all, but he's still been trying to do it. And I also thought that he's been playing with the way that Villa have been operating the last sort of few weeks before this last couple of games, where he has been pushed forwards a little bit more. He's had to be receive the ball sort of 10, 15 yards deeper than what he used to be. So he's then having to beat 2, 3. And was the same for Morgan Rogers, like particularly away from home. They're receiving the ball, almost in their own half, having to beat 2 or 3 men. And then by the time they get to the penalty box, those players are either caught up with them or they're too knackered to put a good cross in or to have a shot. So he's got to receive the ball further up the pitch to then be able to beat one man and then put the ball in the box, or beat one man and have a shot. So I felt that was something that he was able to do a bit more yesterday. And then if he does watch podcasts or listens to podcasts or anything, then just try and work to this ratio, Leon. Work to the 75-25 ratio. 75% of the time, cut inside on your left foot, but 25% of the time, go down the outside and go on your right foot, because then the fullback's not going to know what you're going to do. And if he does that, then he'll get so much more joy, because he's actually all right on his right foot. So I don't understand why he doesn't do it more. And then the fullback will not know which way he's going to go.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think you have to avoid becoming predictable, right? People know what you're going to do. Even I played football tonight, and because I'm old, I've done my ankle in. Weird stretching for the ball. Like, the ball was overhit, and I was like, I can make this. Stretched out. I got it, and it just was not meant to be doing that. Like, I'm not that age to be stretching like that. But even in like the game that I play, I can be a bit repetitive with things that I do. If I'm trying to take a man on, I normally pass it out, because I don't really like running that much. But
No,
I found myself tonight. I got caught on the ball and conceded a goal. Actually, it was really bad because I'd done something that I'd done about 4 times in the same game. And it, at any level of football, it's bad to be repetitive. But at the top, it's deadly, and you have to vary your game. And Leon Bailey is assisted by the fact that he drops his shoulders really well. Like, he can. He can send me flying off my couch with a drop of one of his shoulders. Honestly, it's last season he was that good, and I don't think he has a lot of confidence on his right foot right now. I don't think when he cuts in on his left and he's shooting, I think it sometimes it's kind of like a hit and hope. Like last season, I saw him. He's aiming for that corner. He's just looking to absolutely twat it with his left. But then the ball comes into him and he gets on his right foot. And he absolutely smashes it against the bar. And I swear that's not the first time he's done that this season. That right foot shot.
I'm sure he's hit the bar something like 10 times for Villa. It reminded me of a couple of seasons ago, the shot he hit against Arsenal, which could have made it 3-1 at the time. And I think it was Ramsdale tipped it onto the bar. It reminded me of that. But yeah, it was nice to see him get his goal. And hopefully we'll start to see a better Leon Bailey moving forward. A few comments coming in. Carrie says Leon Bailey has been terrible. Don't try dressing it up because of one tapping.
Oh no! You know what I sound like with Ollie Watkins?
Yeah. Adam says Bailey's always a sprint away from doing his hamstring or picking up another injury. Hence why he's constant poor form. Yeah,
is that true? Because I remember him being pretty consistently fit.
Well, he played through the pain barrier. He did. I kind of take his point. Like, he's a player who has to be. All those wingers have to be confident in their body, don't they? They have to be confident to be. Like you said, he drops his shoulder. He throws that step over. They've got to be confident that the way that they move, they're not going to pull something. But he's a pretty durable player. He's been halfway across the world when he was 14. So I think he's had a few scrapes, and I think he knows what he's about. Gary says Bailey will be an impact sub when we get competition for him. Rachel said if we can get a right winger, Bailey will probably push on again like last season with Diaby. Kev says spot on, Rich. We're too far away from the opposition goal. And Adam says 1 goal all season. Bailey has been bad, no doubt about it. That's
true. But just to put it into perspective as well. So if you look at the players that have been doing well, you say like Yuri Tielemans or someone like that. If you look at Villa's forward line or from the midfield up, you got Kamara doesn't have any goals this season. McGinn doesn't have any goals in the Premier League this season. Tielemans doesn't have any. Bailey's got one. Barkley's got three. Onana's got a couple. Like, you're not getting not the midfield from either side. Morgan Rogers obviously got quite a few, but he's sensational. So he's
all the goals have come from Rogers, Duran, and Watkins.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that is factually true. And that's what the problem is. I don't think Bailey not scoring is part of the problem, but the other issue is he's only got 2 assists. So that's where, even if he's not scoring, he needs to pick up more. This is just the league I'm talking about. So it's one of those, but we all know the kind of quality that Leon Bailey has, and I don't think he's the only one who's not playing up to there. I mean, look at Pau Torres. Last season he was a sensation, and this season he's had a horrible first half of the season by all counts. So I think you just have to wait and see. It's difficult. I think this Champions League campaign is affecting everyone a little bit differently. I don't think it's the Champions League playing in it itself that's causing the issue, because we're doing quite well. I think it's that additional pressure of how consistent they were last year, the heights that we hit, the fans' expectation for them to go and do that again. It's affecting people differently. I don't think it's affecting Ollie Watkins well. I don't think it's affecting Leon Bailey well. But there are other players who, John Duran, for example.
Well, you've just said there's other players that haven't scored at all this season as well. So it's got to be, McGinn's always good for 5 or 6 goals a season in the Premier League, and he hasn't scored once. Yeah, it's got to be similar to them. Now, we got so many comments about him. We have to bring it up. And you did mention after Leon Bailey hit the bar, the ball bounced down to Emi Buendia, who missed an absolute sitter. No, ball bounced to Emi Buendia did miss a sitter. It did miss a sitter, but then Ollie Watkins, and how I was watching it, I completely missed it because it just kept buffering and buffering. I didn't see it till later, but ball bounces down. Ollie Watkins, I don't know how he doesn't get over the ball, but obviously hits it over the bar with his left foot. Missed a really good chance to win the game against Brighton. And it has been the story of his season, all season, obviously, and pretty much the story of Ollie Watkins' career at Aston Villa, to be honest with you. Missing way too many chances. What do we do about him? Because, you've obviously talked about him being a purple patch player and faced, quite a lot of criticism on this podcast. But, so many comments coming in about him being... he's a good player or he's a bad player or what. It just divides so much opinion. But what do we do about him at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty consistent on Ollie Watkins for about 3 years now. I've always said this. Ollie Watkins is not a great goal scorer. I don't care what he scored last season. In terms of taking his chances, he's not clinical. I don't think he's a natural striker. You've got to remember, before he was at Villa, he used to play on the wing, and you see him instinctively really often drift out to that left wing and receive the ball there. Look, Ollie Watkins has periods where he's an absolute world beater and he scores loads of goals, and he's a net plus for the team. I've always said I don't think he's a natural goal scorer. I've always been quite critical of him, and I've always been chewed out for it more often than not. When I criticise Ollie Watkins, I've always been on my own. But it's just what I've always seen with Ollie. Like that chance that he missed against Leicester, he's done that 1,000 times. And I've always said this about him. He frustrates me to watch him. I watch Ollie Watkins, I'm like, just finish it, just bury it, just take the chance. Because so often he misses one chance and it's like, oh, he's missed a chance. What can you do? But it's at a moment where it changes the game. Like, okay, fine, we beat Leicester in the end. But if that goes in and that's 3-1, the game's dead.
Yeah, well, Brighton as well, mate. Yeah. And I love him as a player. I really do, and I think he has so many qualities. He's such a good all-round forward player. But you've hit the nail on the head with those critical moments, like a clinical striker puts that chance away in the 90th minute against Brighton and gets us 3 points instead of 1. Like you said, he'll put the game to bed to make the game 3-1. And also, my other slight criticism of him is he very rarely scores 2 goals in a game. Like, he scores the one, brilliant, but then if you had that hunger, if you had that ruthless streak, you'd go and get another goal, you'd go and get two, you'd go and get three. And I don't think he doesn't, obviously doesn't not want to score 2 or 3 goals, but it's just that ruthless streak in a striker that is like, you know, I'll get another chance and I'll put it away. I'll bury it. I'm just hungry for goals. I'm just hungry for goals. I'm hungry for goals. I'd even prefer him not to get so many assists and just go for goals.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it is going for assists. His last season, I know his assist numbers were really good. This year, he's got 4. I think he very much is a purple patch player. It's what I've always said. He has periods of time where he's really good. He has periods of time where he's bad. I think that people can be too critical of him. I don't think he's a terrible player. He's shown that he has bursts of brilliant ability. But then there are people who are way too defensive over him. Like, Adam saying he's the 3rd best striker in the league is absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. He's not even the best striker in our club. and I genuinely mean that. I mean, when you talk about an out-and-out striker, but a finisher, clinical, Duran is 20, what is he, 21, 22?
I absolutely agree with you. Like
miles ahead of him in terms of finishing, instinctive,
instinctive finish. Like you look, even those ones that got disallowed in the Champions League, the one against Young Boys, and did he get one against Leipzig? Another one against Leipzig disallowed. Like just sweeping finishes. The goal he scored against West Ham just arrives in. Like those are things for strikers that they just read and they just pick up. Like and Duran has those moments where he will just arrive at the ball and just finish it. And that's you can't coach that at times.
No, you can't. And this is what I've been saying for years. He's not. When I've been saying he's not a natural finisher, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's got this many goals and this many goals," and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine," but it's because because he's had so many chances. Like I genuinely believe if you put Alexander Isak in our team last year, the way that we were playing, he gets 25, 30 goals in the Prem. And I'm not taking the piss. I'm being genuinely serious. Like that is, I genuinely think that, and like Lewis is joking when, I did say that Archer is a better finisher than Watkins.
He might not be joking. I don't know if Lewis is actually joking.
No, I think that because I have said that quite a few times, and I know that I got rinsed for that quite a lot. But in terms of being a natural just finisher, like he really is. Archer is genuinely a better natural, more instinctive goal scorer. He's not a better football player than Ollie Watkins, though. Nowhere close. And my solution to this problem has been, well, hey, we don't seem to have a left winger at the moment. Play Ollie Watkins out on the left because he does hold up the ball well. Do you know? But the thing is as well that you look at him against Brighton, or was it against Leicester? I think it was against Brighton where he gets the ball. He's off down the line, left wing, 1-on-1 with a defender, and he just cuts it back and loses it. And he does that so often. Ollie Watkins doesn't really want to take on a man. He's really good at holding the ball off, is laying it off and touching it. Like it's really, really impressive the way that he does that. And he does do that better than Duran. But if you just get Ollie Watkins to just run at a player, I don't know about you, but I'm not full of confidence that he's got to beat his man, drop the shoulder and ping it in.
The only time where it's that channel, and at the minute he's not hitting the ball when he does it. He does like a little step over or drop of the shoulder and then taps it outside either right or left foot and then just puts it in the bottom corner like he'd done that against Arsenal. He'd done it for England in the semi-final. That particular channel, he will drop the shoulder, go one-on-one with the defender, drop the shoulder, and then put it across the goalkeeper. But he had the opportunity 2 or 3 times against Brighton to do that, and he's overthinking everything at the minute instead of just going, he scored that goal against West Ham last season where he was in that left-hand channel, dropped the shoulder on Kurt Zouma, tied him up in knots, took it around the outside, smashed it in the top corner. Why isn't he just going back to doing that? Like just do that.
Even though like that same goal, and it's one of my favorite England moments of all time, that goal against the Dutch. Amazing. And he scored the exact same goal against Chelsea last season as well. but those aren't goals you should be scoring. Do you know what I mean? Like that angle to take it that way, like people are, oh, it's a sensational finish. It's not. It's horrible goalkeeping and it's a horrible touch. And I genuinely mean that. Like you shouldn't be scoring from there. And it's amazing pinpoint that he does it, but it's not. That shouldn't be the game plan. Like get it to every single goal has to be like the one that Maicon scored for Brazil, where you have to curl it back. Do you know what I mean? It's there are you want it in the middle and take Duran for example. He's the polar opposite because he shoots on sight. As soon as he gets the ball, he don't even look up. He doesn't see if there's a player in better position or anything like that. He shoots, and
which I imagine Unai Emery hates, by the way.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine that he does, and he's too far the other way. But the difference is Ollie Watkins is 28, 29. Duran is 21.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's starting his career. That could be coached out of him. You know, you fine, have the shot. That's fine. But like the goal against Manuel Neuer, against Bayern Munich, where he lobs Manuel Neuer, that only comes from instinctive finishing. That other goal,
absolutely.
Who was it? Everton, where he just absolutely just slaps it from 35, 40 yards. It's like
Everton, Leipzig.
But it's that instinctive that I want to shoot, I want to score. Do you know what I mean? Duran is hungry for it. He's obsessed with goals. And Ollie Watkins just isn't the same. You know, and you said about not at the start of last season, you were like, you want Watkins to become more hungry and be a bit more selfish, a bit more determined, and like less of a nice guy. I think I remember you describing it that way.
Yeah. Which is Villa all over. Villa are too nice. I've said this so many times. Look at Newcastle yesterday against Tottenham. Look at Joe Linton, man, smashing people. Doesn't get sent off. Like, why can't Villa do that? I don't get it.
We're just not that team. We're just not that, and we don't have that manager. Like we've got a manager who, you know, the worst thing he said in the last year and a half was, well, I think the referees may have got it wrong.
He should have gone to VAR. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like, so much respect for the referees. You've got someone like Sean Dyche out there saying, "Oh, the bastard, I'll kill him." Do you know what I mean? We're just not that kind of club. We're not that kind of team. We're a bit more respectful. But I think on the Watkins thing, and I am, hey, look, I've my opinion didn't even really need to be shared because I've been saying the same thing, but. The question for you, I guess, is do you think that Duran has now taken that spot? Because as far as I'm concerned, before he got sent off, that number 9 shirt was his. Do you know what I mean? I mean, literally and figuratively.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. I think you probably have to say yes. I think, like you said, Duran's 21 years of age, right? So the things that, and there were signs that he was starting to improve in the areas where Watkins is obviously better, like still better than him at. But you will take the kind of the improvement needed on the fact he's 21 and the fact that he scores goals and he's hungry for goals. You'll take that. Other than sort of, like I say, Watkins, who needs, as we've seen in the comments, 3 or 4 chances to put one away in a game. And I'd also say that this 3 or 4 games where Duran's out is an opportunity for Watkins to put his marker down. And yes, he scored a penalty against Brighton. He had a good game against Brighton, goal and an assist, but he hasn't really done too much to dislodge Duran. Like we've missed him. We've missed Duran, and that's the point. That's the point. Yeah, now I don't think Duran was great against Forest, although he scored. I don't think he had a good game. But he was excellent against Man City.
When he leaves the pitch, Rich, we're winning.
Yeah. No. I'm still saying he's the number 9. So, and even if he doesn't play well, he's scoring and he's winning games for us. Like, he didn't have a great game against Southampton, but he still got the winning goal for us. Like, so yeah, he is at the moment. I would certainly say the number 1 striker, and the fact that we've missed him in these 2 games has been telling, really.
Yeah, and I think long term as well, when you look at Ollie Watkins and Duran and how that works together. Because I mean, if I'm being honest, everyone's kind of half expecting Duran to go somewhere. I mean, all of the best teams in Europe, and I mean that genuinely, are looking at Duran. Napoli's looking at Duran. Arsenal are very seriously looking at Duran because they are dying for a goal.
Chelsea.
Imagine if Duran goes to Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Like that kid he's already in a year and a half. Everyone, and it's not even just that. The talent that he has, which made Villa go and get him from Chicago Fire or wherever he came from. I think it was Chicago Fire. Like we are, we're talking about a genuine potential generational talent. Like there's no better 21-year-old striker about. Like in his age range, someone's probably going to tell me that I don't know someone else is 21 that I've completely forgot about. But he's up there in Europe, and he's done it on the big stage now. He's done it in the Champions League, and he's doing it consistently in the Premier League. He's won us so many points, and it's that time where I think as a club we kind of have to be a bit ruthless and say, okay, well, what's the direction that we're going in here? Because Duran's going to want a guarantee. He's going to want a lot more money and a new contract and whatever else that he's already just got, but he's going to want more and more, and he's going to want to know that he's the main striker and he's going to be started. And Ollie Watkins is not going to abide by that, and so then you have a dilemma. In my mind, I've seen it in a few of the comments. I think it's more likely that Duran will go than Ollie will go if it came to push and shove. But what I'd really love to do is I'd love to keep them both, but I would start Duran. And if one of them has to go, if I'm being honest, I'd be quite relieved if Ollie Watkins left, just so I don't have to talk about him anymore. I really mean that.
Well, Louise left last season after you got dogs abuse for slating him in the Olympiacos.
We got dogs abuse. It was that game. What was that game where we had an absolute shocker?
Olympiacos.
Oh, we lost our marbles, didn't we? Yeah. He missed the penalty. He gave with a handball away. But the thing is, another player, Douglas Luiz, that we've criticised and said, well, look, he's clearly brilliant. He's clearly sensational, but he's not consistent. He doesn't do everything well. And then he's gone to Juventus and he struggled massively. And then Yuri Tielemans has come in, and I'm not saying I'm always right. More often than not, I'm wrong. But sometimes I am right. When
broken clock and all that.
Broken clock. But at the start of the season, when we were talking about Luiz, I said it's not a problem because Tielemans is going to fill in for him, and Tielemans is going to do his job. He's just going to do it better. And I genuinely believe that. Tielemans has been our player of the season so far. Him or Morgan Rogers. He's been sensational. So I wouldn't worry about it either way. Players come and go. But for Watkins, from a final word on Watkins, he needs to sort himself out immediately because he needs to work out what he's going to do, and he needs to. Some things you can't change. You can't teach instinct. That's just something you're born with. You don't have it. But I think Ollie Watkins is at a really crucial stage in his career where he needs to decide if he wants to continue playing with England, if he wants to be Villa's main man, if he wants to do X, Y, and Z. He's going to have to start showing that he's worth it and not expect to live off former glories. You're only as good as your last season, your last few games, right? We even look at Pep, had a dry spell and people start questioning him. Always the Pep era over his match. No one's immune from it. So Watkins, I think, if he wants to get back in that conversation, and even Villa fans, diehard, who have always been Ollie Watkins supporters, are now questioning him. It doesn't mean anything coming from me because I've always questioned him. But, when you get genuine members of the fan base who have always loved you saying, look, I don't know if this guy's good enough, that's when you need to start worrying.
Yeah. Kev feels like Watkins will have the last laugh. But so many comments. We'll move on from it, but thank you for all of your comments. We've also got 240 people in the chat. Amazing stuff. Thank you for all your support. Please do smash the like button and hit the subscribe button. We are literally marching on to 5K. I think we're hopefully under 50 needed now for the big 5K. So please do like, please do comment, please do subscribe and get and help us on the road to 5K. Just a quick one on the midfield before we go on to the defence, because lots of people are talking about kind of how we're shipping goals and how that's putting more spotlight on the strikers, particularly Watkins missing chances. But I do want to talk about the midfield because Ross Barkley, obviously, you talked about goals from midfield, and Barkley's chipped in with 3 Premier League goals, 1 goal in the Champions League as well, and for pretty much a free transfer, has been an absolute revelation in midfield. But I guess the other point to raise is that we had a £50 million player on the bench who didn't come on. I don't think he played on. Well, he was on the bench against Brighton and came on for 10 minutes and absolutely stunk the place out. And that's Amadou Onana. Now, I know Emery's talked about Philogene not necessarily progressing at the rate that he thought he might do at the start of the season. Same for Nedeljkovic. Would it be fair to say that Onana's maybe not really grabbed Emery's sort of coaching and strategy as well as he might have wanted to?
I wouldn't say so. I think Onana's been really good, actually. He's been as inconsistent as everyone else in the team. When we beat Man City 2-1 and we had Kamara, Onana and Tielemans playing in the 10.
I loved him in that position. Yeah, I loved him in that game.
It was 2 weeks ago, and everyone was saying, this is the midfield. This works. And he was absolutely sensational in that game. Look, he's not always on point. I think he's obviously going through injury stuff. He wasn't great against Brighton. I think Leicester's that kind of game where you should be able to play Ross Barkley or you should be able to not risk some players coming on if they're injured. It's nice to have them on the bench if we're losing and we need something. But I think it's one of those where I think Onana's done really well. I think he's integrated well into the team. I think he's endeared himself to the fans. I think he plays good football. A lot of Everton fans were really critical of him when he came, and they were like, "Oh, we've robbed you there. We've robbed you for 50 million. Onana's this, he's that." But I think he's contributed a lot. You've got to remember he's 22 as well. He's a kid. In the grand scheme of things, like the level that he's at for his age is sensational anyway, and people forget that because he's built like a brick shithouse. But he's 22, 23 years old, and he's going to get better. He's 23. I think Unai will be more than happy with him. Obviously, look, you'd love to get every player for half the amount that you pay for him. He was expensive, there's no doubt about that. But I've not had a problem with him this season, and I'm one of the more critical Villa fans, I would say.
No,
I don't mind them on people's backs. I think they're playing well, but I really like him.
I love it. I really like him. It's just like I say, it was just a bit of a surprise after having such a good game against Man City, and I thought he actually played all right against Newcastle. I know he gave the last goal away, but I thought in terms of competing physically, he was the only midfielder that I thought did, and I thought Kamara was actually pretty disappointing in that game.
Everyone was pretty disappointed in that game, Rich.
Yeah, true. I just meant in terms of winning that midfield battle, like Joe Linton bullied Kamara.
That's where we always lose against Newcastle.
I know, I don't get it. And I thought Onana was the answer to our prayers. That's all I wanted, to beat Newcastle. That's all I want.
You should probably move, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I know.
Just move to Leicester or somewhere else. But I think Onana's been really good. I've really enjoyed watching him play. I think he brings a lot to the table. He scored some really good goals. He scored in the Champions League against Young Boys. He scored in the first 2 games of the season, 2-1 wins. He's won us points, and I think he's good crack as well. He's good to watch. He's great with the fans. So yeah, up the Onana. Not that sounds dirty, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Adam says never should have bought Onana. Wow.
Well, that's Adam's second worst take.
Yes, yeah. Rachel said Onana needs time, like all the new players, Costa and Maatsen, etc. Gary said Onana is fine, lads. Move on. David said it's all about the squad, stronger than without at the minute. Kamara's class again, says Kev. James said he's just come back from injury. He'll play against West Ham. We need more physicality in that game. We needed a Barkley player in the game against Leicester. We needed someone who could break through the pass in midfield, and that's exactly what he did. Tombo said Onana is a terrible sub, though it takes him a while to warm up. Yeah, I think that's one of those. That's one of those, definitely. And I actually thought he should have been brought on 10, 15 minutes earlier in that Brighton game.
I always feel like
I'll put that on Emery. Yeah, I'll put that on Emery. But Barkley, though, done fantastically well, Sam.
Yeah, for 5 million, he's an absolute steal. And I don't think I did maybe disagree with the AZ pushing for a starting place, this and that. He's he's at an age where he probably wouldn't like playing every single game with the minutes that he'd have to do. I think he's doing exactly what we brought him in for. I think he's coming on. He's giving us really quality options off the bench, quality options in cups. He's we have a bit of injuries in the midfield, suspensions. Morgan Rogers out, Onana was injured. We still have the ability to bring in someone with Ross Barkley's quality, and for that amount of money that we bought him for, I think that's exactly what Emery and the rest of the management at Villa had in mind when they brought him in. It was a really good finish. I don't think he was brilliant in the game. I agree with you. I think the first half, him and Onana he was a bit...
Kamara.
Him and Kamara. I think they were dawdling on the ball a little bit, like not playing it forward like Barkley normally does. I've got an Onana on the brain now. Like Barkley normally does, where he breaks forward, and he kind of like Morgan Rogers. He makes a few yards, maybe goes past a player or two, and then sprays it out wide. He was a bit lethargic on the ball, and it wasn't the best that we've seen from Ross Barkley. But the chance comes to him, and he takes it emphatically. And that's, like I say, 3 goals in the league, an assist, and he doesn't play that many minutes. So those numbers are impressive, and it's a really important 3 points for Villa. Yeah,
absolutely. Anything else to cover on that game? I think you've praised Mings. Obviously, Konsa backing at centre back as well, which like he's not a right back. So I guess in that sort of mould, and talking about that into the transfer kind of chat, talk about this Oscar Mingueza from Celta Vigo, talk of Wesley Francha, right back. Obviously, we've needed this. We've needed right back improvements because, as we say, we needed to improve on Matty Cash, and at the minute, Matty Cash is our best option at right back.
You said that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that 2 years ago. Nah, I didn't foresee that one either, Rich. That was never.
Well, I did want to also actually, in terms of defence as well. Ian Matson obviously came on and was a key part of changing that game and arresting the control back in the game. Straight away comes on, gives us some dynamism, gets to that byline and cuts the ball back, which is so important because Bailey gambled on it. But we didn't have that because Dina doesn't put those type of crosses in. Is it time that we gave Matson more of a shot in these games and gave us more attacking thrust? And then, as I say, linking into that kind of right back discussion about getting an upgrade at right back, or just someone to really challenge Matty Cash?
2 points. We'll start on the right back.
Yes.
We need an upgrade on Matty Cash. A significant upgrade is needed. Not because Matty Cash is the worst player of all time. He's not. He's just not at the level where we're trying to compete at. Defensively, very frail. He's been quite consistent going forward this year, actually. I was really angry every time he took the ball forward and tries to pass it last year. He's improved. His going forward has improved. I think defensively he's an absolute liability more often than not. There's not an awful lot he could do about it, but the Leicester goal straight through his legs.
He's caught too far in towards Konsa, isn't he? Unfortunately,
he always invites the cross as well. Like whenever someone's got the ball on the edge, he'll stand there with his arms behind his back. He'll give him about 2 meters, like it's a free kick. Close him down. This is the thing that I scream at my TV more than anything. Stop the cross. Close him down. Get tight.
Players, fullbacks don't like stopping crosses anymore. I don't know what it is. Whether they've done their hair before the game, they don't want to mess it up, or they've obviously had the teeth done in Turkey and they don't want to mess the teeth up. I don't know, but back in the day, you used to take one in the face all the time and you weren't bothered. But these days, they don't want to mess the hair up or mess up the Botox or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gary just put a comment in there, and I wholeheartedly agree with him. I don't think Cash is not trying. I think he puts his absolute all into it, and that's
he's 100%, man.
I just don't think he's at the right level, if I'm being honest. But that's a credit to Villa and where we've gone. When he came from Nottingham Forest, when we just come up, he was the right man for the time, right? And I always find it quite funny actually, because obviously from the Man City game a couple of weeks ago, everyone was talking about Jack Grealish and his loyalty and this and that. And the reason that doesn't bother me is because it needs to be symbiotic. And I'm quite ruthless. Like Matty Cash was really good for us a period of time ago. Now he's not at the level where we're trying to be. He's not as good as the players around him. And I would, cut him as quick as anything. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Loyalty is only only works one way according to football
parallel.
supporters.
It's not symbiotic. I would
as soon as we lose a few games, we want the manager out.
Mate,
so.
If you offered me 20 million or 25 million for Matty Cash, I'd drive him wherever you want. Do you know what I mean? He'd jump in my car. Same with Ollie Watkins. If you offer me 60 million for Ollie Watkins now, I'll drive him. And he's been a brilliant servant to the club, but I want better. Do you know what I mean? It's not. When they're retired, we can look back at them and they can be Villa legends and we can give them all of our affection. But whilst they're playing and whilst the game's the game, so new right back, 100%. I don't know anything about the two players that you've mentioned. I've heard of them. I don't know anything about them. It's a really hard one. The only one that I can think of that would definitely be an upgrade that has ever been mentioned for Villa is Dumfries from Inter Milan, but that looks like it's going to be quite hard now. Frimpong was obviously the dream last year, wasn't he? But that's never going to happen now. And with regards to the left back, Maatsen and Luca Dean, I find it's really tough. I think that Emery's got a really difficult decision because Luca Dean's been brilliant at times this season. He's been absolutely sensational. And look, his final ball into the box isn't great. He takes all of our free kicks and corners, and he's. Let me just make sure I'm not getting this one wrong. He has got 2 assists, and he arguably should have more. I don't think it's an easy choice. I don't think it's as easy as put Maatsen in. But
no, and that's the thing is,
not taking them.
No, yeah, well, yeah, I was just about to say that. Maatsen has started a few games and hasn't been great when he has started, and that's he has got that knack of making a real impact when he comes on, which is sometimes again what you need. You need these players off the bench who can come on and win a game or come on and change a game for you at certain points. And he's done that in the game against Leicester. He's done that against West Ham. He's done that in other games before. So maybe he's just at the minute, maybe he hasn't got that. I don't know. He's a better kind of finisher of a game than a starter of a game, but he certainly did very well yesterday. Yeah. And as Kevin said there, he did very well against Bologna as well. So, like you said, it's a difficult one. It's a good problem to have as well.
Another player who's 22. Do you know what I mean? And this is the thing: you can take off all of the more senior players, and you have a much younger team on. You start playing Maatsen and Duran and Morgan Rogers, and you're replacing all of these more seasoned veterans, seasoned pros. If you put Nedeljkovic on for cash, you've got a lot of kids in that team, and maybe Luca Dean brings something else, a bit more savvy, I mean, look, Ian Maatsen's probably arguably a more talented player, and he probably can give you something, but Luca Dean has a lot of experience with the Premier League, and he's got experience with the Champions League as well, as I know Maatsen does as well. But Luca Dean is one of our savviest and one of our oldest heads in the squad. It's not all about the output. Maybe it's sometimes about managing the game, or when to run, when not to run, and Maatsen might just be a bit more raw. But the only thing I would say on that is whoever's starting, I'd be happy to see him. If Maatsen gets a chance next week, then I'm buzzing, and I'm happy for him because he's a good player. But if it's Luca Dean, then I'm not wincing and going, "Oh, why isn't Maatsen playing?"
Yeah. So obviously Marlon could be done. Daniel Marlon from Dortmund. That'd be a nice signing. I think something that's probably needed, a bit direct, a bit rugged player. I think he's a bit rough around the edges, but we know what Unai Emery's like with those type of players. Morgan Rogers was a bit rough around the edges, probably still is a little bit, but look how good he is. Look at the dynamism that he brings to the team. Where do you?
Is that right?
No. I think Gareth said he's a good player for what we need right now, and at a good price. And it's good that we're getting people from the likes of Dortmund, but he has divided opinion because I don't think he's playing particularly well for Dortmund this season. But we've seen what Unai Emery can do with with certain players that maybe haven't been as highly rated at their current club, and then all of a sudden turn around at Aston Villa. So whenever I've seen him, I've thought he's looked really sharp. I think he's looked really fast, really direct. Someone in the mould of, like, I guess, an Mbeumo in terms of the style of play. He is a player I would absolutely love, by the way. But I don't think he would be able to get him for 30 million euros. So
No, I've been thinking about this. I think we would, like, if you look at
he wouldn't. He'd be going for 50, 60, 70 at the minute now.
no, not at his age. How
old is he?
That's a good question. How old? I thought he was.
And Mbeumo's 28, is he?
Is he 28?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's 25. Yeah, we got no chance.
Yeah, there you go.
It's 25. God, the hairline's gone. There's no remnants of it. You need an archaeologist to find this hairline. Fair. Don't worry, we'll come back from Turkey soon.
Yeah. Teeth and his hair. But what I was going to say is, obviously, is it just purely sort of right-sided attacker, right back? Are you thinking centre back as well? Where else are you thinking we might need to do some business? Or where would be your ideals?
So right back 100%. I think left back were good. Centre back. Look, if we could ship Diego Carlos, and and bring in another alternative. I've heard a lot of talk of Kaya Tomori.
I'd like him.
A player like that would be a really, really brilliant signing. I wouldn't mind refreshing that centre back pairing as long as we can get rid of one. I think my issue is, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but why do we never have a left winger?
Yeah. Why don't we try playing Leon Bailey out on the left sometimes as well? To like, I always wonder why don't we just to freshen it up a bit in a game, put him out on the left a bit?
I wholeheartedly think that we need a winger. We need two wingers. We need one for the left, one for the right. So you've got some competition, because right now you've got, when Bailey was injured, he put John McGinn out on the right wing, and John did a fine job. Don't get me wrong; like he did a really good job, but he's not a winger. You're not getting the best out of John McGinn there. So if he doesn't rate Philogene, get rid of him. And I think that's it. Just a couple of wingers, a right back, and a new centre back if we can shift one of them. Look, let's be honest, we don't have the world's biggest budget because of PSR. No. That we need to be conservative about what we're hoping for here. But I heard Barrenechea may be on his way back as well.
Well, there was talk of Barrenechea, there was talk of Ilin Jr., and so obviously Gary's put in the chat about Ilin Jr. and Louis Barry. Now, someone made a comment on one of my videos about Louis Barry and the fact that obviously Emery's commented that he wants to take a look at him and all that kind of stuff. But if he does make an appearance for Villa, he can't then go back out on loan and play this season, because you can't play for 3 clubs in the same season. So
you play him in a reserve game or something like that. That's inconsequential.
Oh yeah. Obviously, he could play behind closed doors. But what I mean is, because he's not cup tied, so he could in theory play against West Ham. But if he plays against West Ham, then that's it. He's pretty much at Villa then for the rest of the season. So he's I know he's got a slight injury, but
yeah,
I know we've had debates about whether you can, whether a player at the top of his game in League One, and obviously better than that standard is, it was engine number 9, was a player of that standard. Can he step up into the Premier League? Has he got that ability? Has he got the roof streak? Has he got the strength? Would Emery kind of look at him, or is he just saying that because he needs to say that, and then he'll just go out on loan somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, they might be thinking he's got some value. Maybe someone else, or buy him for 10 million. He's a pretty big deal at the moment, Louis Barry, and they might think, he's never going to play for us. We'll take the 10 million now rather than trim a little bit more and take the 20 that we could probably get in a year's time or 2 years' time. So look, it's difficult. You've seen players go to lower leagues, the Championship, League One and do very well, and then come back and not be ready. Make the same argument for Philogene. I don't think he's not ready. I think he plays football the right way, and that might be very judgmental for me. And who the hell am I to talk about how well he plays football? But I don't think he plays football the right way. Philogene, I think he's got all the talent in the world. I just don't think he plays the game properly. I don't see Barry coming back and making a genuine fight for a position in the first team or in the first team squad. But I think, I think he'll probably come back, go out on loan or get sold. But I see a lot of people like making the argument, give Louis Barry a go. And I know you have been doing it as well, quite a lot in the WhatsApp group. And I've just put in the every time he scored, I put Barry scores again. Barry scores again. Yeah. But like that, and I've always taken that as banter, as you just taken a mick. But is there some part of you that genuinely would like to see him be given a go?
I think so. I think it's like there's certain elements where you see a player, right, and it doesn't matter necessarily what level they're playing at. He's got the materials to be a player. When I've watched him play, when he just gets the ball out on that left hand side and cuts inside, his one thought is goal, right? So similar to John Duran, it's just goal. And again, he's got the pace. He's played at a level whereby, yes, it's absolutely not the Premier League, but in terms of where you might get bashed around, pushed around, playing on bad pitches, all that kind of stuff. There's elements of League One that's more difficult than elements of the Premier League. So if you've got the raw materials, if you've got the ruthless streak to just single-mindedness to when you get the ball, this is the job that you're going to do. I'm hungry for goals. Then there's an element of you could just plant that into the higher standard. You could just go and do it. So I do think he's got some parts to his game that he's clearly improved on. He's clearly improved on his strength. He's got a low centre of gravity. He's got that ruthless streak. Could that translate to the Premier League? I think yes.
My concern is that he's built like a 14-year-old called Stephanie.
Well, that is a he doesn't the physical nature of his body, he's still got some growing to do. But in terms of if you look at his body shape compared to say Philogene's, he's got stronger kind of body type. He's lower center of gravity, more difficult to get off the ball. Fast, I think he's got a more explosive speed than Philogene. So I think he's got some elements of his game that I think could certainly transfer to the Premier League. And look, 15 goals or 16 goals at whatever level in professional football isn't to be sniffed at. You're getting a player who's at the top of his game, at the top of his confidence. So yeah, I think there's something there to work with.
Yeah, I think it's a gamble. I've seen all of the goals that he scored. I've seen the highlights. I've seen all the good things. I can't say that I've watched him across 90 minutes and seen how he pushes and presses and tracks back. And, I probably don't know enough about him. I remember when we signed him, from Barcelona, next best thing. And then I remember that goal he scored against Liverpool.
Liverpool, yeah.
This is it. And I said this, I don't remember. I said it's like start of last year. I said people will always love homegrown talents, one of our own, more than anything else, especially if you don't have to sign them. The academy, well, I know he's not an academy player, he's a West Brom academy player, but, he's
a Villa fan, though, apparently.
He's a Villa fan, lifelong Villa fan. He's been in our youth system for a long time. There would be nothing better than to see him come in and smash it and do amazing
exactly
things. And you do see it every now and then. A player who's not that big do look at like Diogo Jota and other players who are not Bonanotte, other players who are not massive, but they do really well in the Premier League. Trossard is another good example of someone who's small, but I'm not saying he needs to be a brick house, but he's never played at this level. And that I kind of have a weird thing. Those players who are like Duran. He's 20 years old when he started, and he just fit.
Just a man. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's
like Rooney at 16 was just a fully bloke. Yeah.
Dele Alli at 19.
Yeah.
Fit. But then look at Morgan Rogers last year. He was playing This time last year he was playing for Middlesbrough.
Exactly,
And now
the Middlesbrough fans were saying that they've had our pants down
yeah, they lost
by
the
us
whole
paying
lot.
that money. Yeah,
They had no, but even him, he's what 6'2", 6'3", and he's no one. Thomas Partey can't push him off the ball.
Yeah.
Like the strongest of the strong players, and he's physically ready to adapt. And I just think those gems that you pick from the Championship and they're just so rare. They're so few and far between. So I think it's a massive gamble. If we bring Louis Barry back, chances are he'll probably not work out. I'd say,
yeah. Oh, of course, of course. You know, you're talking. You're lucky if you get one academy graduate who goes into the first team every 6 years.
Yeah,
you know, and that's lucky.
But even don't you think he should be playing Championship at least? Because I mean, there's a gulf in the quality between League One and the Championship.
Yeah, I agree. I think he will go to on loan in the Championship. What I mean is that there are just because he's played in, just because saying that he's played in League One, so he's definitely not good enough for the Premier League, isn't necessarily the best argument, because sometimes a player is just, if they've got the ability, if they've got that streak about them, they can do it. Like there's times when a player has come through from non-league level and gone into the Premier League. Like there's players that get better the higher the level they go up to, or there's players that have raw materials that just need refining, or the right coach that can just flourish at a higher level. So it's not necessarily the argument, you know, equally as there's players that have scored tons of goals at Championship level but just can't do it at the Premier League. Like it's not always a definitive science is what I mean. It's like you don't just cancel someone out by saying, oh, there's no way they're good enough for the Premier League just because they've scored goals in League One. No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying that's the argument. I'm not saying that you are at all.
I think the response to that is, and this is something I always say, it's possibility versus probability, right? It's possible for someone to come from non-league football into the Premier League and be brilliant. You know, it's possible for anything. Look at Jimmy Bullard. Didn't play football till he's 26, 27. Anything is possible, but we're talking about probable. What's the probability? What the chances? The probability is that if he's his age and the best level that he's played at is League One, he's probably not. He's not a Premier League player, right? Probably. It'll be a much lower chance. So when you talk about, look, if you say to me, would you come back and would you bring him back, give him a game? Yeah, I'll give him a game. I'll give him 2, 3. See what he does. We're crying out for a left winger, and every single clip I've seen of Louis Barry this season, he's coming in off that left side, cutting in and scoring some really wonderful goals. I'm just saying I expect nothing from it. If we do bring him back,
exactly.
Then I'll take that. I'll take that all day.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Absolutely. And I wasn't saying that you were making that argument. I was just saying that.
No, I'm giving the opposite. Yeah. I'm just playing devil's advocate, saying this is my argument too. Anyone can come from any league to the Premier League. Yeah, it's true, but
just to finish up, mate, in terms of, we're obviously 2025, first game 2025, which got off to a winning start for Villa. What are your hopes and expectations for Villa this year?
Oh, we do this every year, Rich, and it's getting quite stressful. It'd be quite nice if we just had like a hiatus. Like now that we've had COVID, we know that nothing is going to stop the football from actually happening. So I'm getting really tired. I kind of want the season.
Well, you're going to be more tired soon, mate.
Yeah, baby number 2 on the way. That's going to be really good. My expectations for the season is that we are probably going to finish in a Europa Conference League place, if that's still 7th. At the very best, I think if I'm being super realistic, I don't see us climbing any higher than that, although I do expect some of the teams ahead of us to fall off, but then I expect other teams behind us like Spurs and Man United, who are not a million miles after, to come good at some point during the season. And I think in the Champions League, I think we get to the quarters maybe. I think that would be a really respectable debut into the current, I know it's everyone's debut into the current format of the Champions League, but since the transition of it being the Champions League from the European Cup, I think a quarterfinal run would be lovely. I don't know what cups we're still in. I don't think we'll win any of them anyway. Third round.
FA Cup third round this Friday against West Ham.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see us prioritising that when we've got the league and Champions League. If you look at what we did what we put out against Palace in the League Cup, which was a free run, we didn't even play the first round because we were in the Champions League. So I don't see them prioritising the cups. That's me being really realistic. What I hope for, I really, really hope that we can get Europa League players, because that's still decent. And I do worry about the drop in revenue. So I know that Emery said if we don't make Champions League again, we're going to have some financial issues. And in the Champions League, knockout football, man, anything can happen. I would love it. I'd love to win it. Do you know what? I think if we get to the final against anyone, apart from like Real Madrid or Man City or Liverpool or Arsenal, I reckon,
or anyone else.
I reckon if we meet young boys in the final, I reckon no, I genuinely think that apart from the teams that know us, you know, if you look at what we've done in the Champions League this year,
you don't want an Arsenal or Liverpool in the final, but
no, you don't want someone who knows us and who beats us regularly, has no fear of, you know, falling over the mighty Villa. So, I'd love a Champions League win. I'd quit. I'd never complain again. I'd never ask for anything. You know, I'll go shine on Watkins' shoes if he scores a winner, like whatever he wants. I'm absolutely fine. I'd love that. That's my absolute dream, is to
be unreal.
That sign that says "Sorry, I've gone to Europe." That'll just be on permanently.
Yeah.
But what about you? What do you reckon? Realistic, and then what you actually hope for. Obviously, you hope to win everything, but like realistic.
Yeah, a couple of comments. So Kevin says win an FA Cup. To be honest, Gary says win an effing trophy. Engine number 9 says we're going to get to the final of the Champions League and score the winner, and it'll be Duran, which would be amazing stuff. And James thinks we would beat Arsenal if we had them in the Champions League. Sounds like Sam is scoring more than Watkins.
I got 3 tonight, actually.
I think he means in the baby department.
Oh yeah. No, it's like a little factory at my house. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. For me, I don't disagree with you, mate. I was actually trying to think it through with regards to how many places it would go down. You know, like with regards to European spots. And I think there's a chance he'll go down to 8th position, wouldn't it, this season with the Conference League, go to 8th, because obviously, hopefully, 5th place gets the Champions League, 6th place would get a Europa League spot, and then obviously then depends on the winners of the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, etc. Could mean that Conference League drops down to 8th position. So yeah, I can see us finishing 6th or 7th this season. I don't think we'll go far in the FA Cup. You know, looking at the injury list we've got at the minute, looking at the way that the games are spread out, I think the next FA Cup round weekend is something like the first weekend of February, and I can see Emery eyeing that up as a break, and saying that, you know, giving the players a break.
Yeah.
Because obviously Champions League just finishes the week, the 29th of January. I can see him saying the players need, he'll want almost eye that as a break, a week off for the players. So, yeah, that's what I don't see us doing anything in that. But yeah, and Champions League, I think quarterfinals is a realistic aim. I think just getting into that top 8 is fantastic. Then that takes us to the last 16 automatically, get through that, and then, you know, quarterfinals would be good and give us much needed revenue. I've seen that it's something like 40 or 50 million already we get for just qualifying for that top 8 all in all, because you get like 11 million extra for qualifying in that top 8. So that would be great. In terms of hopes, I think top 4 would be amazing. Again, to qualify for the Champions League, it'd be a tough ask. And I mean, if we're in the Champions League, why not try and go and win it? It'd be incredible if we could do it. But certainly we've got the right manager to get us far in European competition. So why not? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, so you want Champions League and to win the Champions League?
Yeah. Just win it and then just finish in the Champions League places just for fun anyway.
No holds barred.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's getting that top 8 is so important. What have we got left? We've got Monaco and Celtic. Those are some really big games financially, but I think just in terms of progression to get to that last stage of the Champions League, that could affect our Premier League performance though. Going on in that, maybe not with the biggest squad. If we get some injuries, it could be quite difficult. But it's a ridiculous time to be a Villa fan. I mean, who would have thought 3-4 years ago that we'd be talking about, if we could win the Champions League, that would be a great little cherry on top. This is ridiculous stuff. But I don't know. It's been a really, really weird first half of the season because it's not the whole time you're watching it, you're like, we're not very good. And then you come to January and you're like, oh, actually, we're like 4 points off fourth and we're, joint second or third in the Champions League. It doesn't look so bad. And you kind of question whether you've actually seen what you've seen all season. But, we've had some really amazing breakouts. John Duran, Morgan Rogers, been sensational. Tielemans has taken up that mantle. We all hoped that he would. Kamara's back. Mings is back. All these bad things. I mean, I say Emi Buendia's back, but he's so bad. he's so off the pace. And that's it. That's a wrap for the first half of the season. Wait and see what happens next.
Absolutely. Sam, it has been an absolute pleasure. 1 hour and 21 minutes in. Could talk all night, but we've got to go to bed. We've got work tomorrow, starting up again after Christmas. Guys, thank you all for your chat. So many comments flying through. Thank you so much, and thank you all for watching. Please make sure you smash that like button as well. Hit the subscribe button on your way out. Help us on the road to 5K. I haven't checked how many likes or how many new subscribers we've got, but if we're any closer to 5,000, that would be amazing. We'll be back later this week with Fans Forum. I'll be back with my daily transfer roundup shows. Hopefully, we've made some signings this week as well. Obviously, match preview for West Ham coming up. Can we get the victory in the FA Cup? Will Unai Emery put any priority on it? I doubt it, but it'd be good to get a win anyway. West Ham aren't very good, are they? So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Once again, Sam, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone in the comments. We'll be back later this week. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.